And you know, this money would never decrease out of charity. I shared the story with you that we shared before, which is I went to a hotel in Al-Madinah and I asked how much was rent a room for the night, and the man told me 150 riyal, and I always like to bargain, it's just in me. So I told him, could you give me a discount? And he looked at me and said, no, this is discounted already. Anyhow, next day I was going to the pharmacy to buy something, and there was this old lady asking the pharmacist to give her money for the sake of Allah, and he told her no, assuming, of course, so he's a social worker and he knows her situation and he doesn't want to give her. I felt sorry for her, and I put my hand in my pocket and I found 30 riyals, so I gave it to her. And then I go back to the hotel to check out, and I give him 150 riyals, so he gave me back 30 riyal. I told him, well, we agreed that it's 150. He said, well, yesterday you asked for a discount and we decided to give you 30 riyal discount. I looked at him and I told him, this 30 riyal is not discount, this is the 30 riyal I gave for sadaqah a few hours ago, and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, La yankus malum min sadaqah, your money will never go down from charity, so I got it back. And we honestly have to believe in this. And how do we tell people, you believe? If Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said it, it is absolute truth. So here, a business deal that it will never, you can never lose, but you can get 10 to 100 times. You know, my issue is always, why are we always so worried to give when you know you can't lose this deal?
No, I mean, you've, I think, hit the nail on the head where you said, you know, it is associated with belief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associated it with belief in Surah Al-Hadid because it's a matter of belief. You know, people don't give because they're afraid of poverty. They don't give because they don't really, at that moment, remember or believe the hadith of the Prophet. They fear that their money, you know, will be lost. They need the money for something else, and they fear it's going to be lost if they give it away.
Well, we have to go for a break. Please stand by, and we'll be back soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to Spirit of Islam. Today we are talking about spending for the sake of Allah, and my guest is Hatim Zaghloul, the chairman of the Muslim Council of Calgary, and as I mentioned earlier, he's also my brother. One of the issues, you know, in Surah Al-Qalam, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about this man who had a farm, a big farm, and he always donated for the sake of Allah. And, you know, and he was prosperous. And then when he died, his children got together and decided, our dad was very generous, he gave too much, we are smarter people, we want to utilize the money better. So they decided, this year we are going to collect all the crop and not give the poor. And to guarantee, because the poor are used to, when they see people working in the field, they're coming to take their share. We will go early in the morning before the time the poor know that we collect, and we take all the money, and this way we will invest it properly. And of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the surah that Allah destroyed it, so when they went they found it empty. And they realized maybe it was prosperous because the father gave for the sake of Allah. And this is the thing where we try to make it a business. And in a way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us spending for His sake is a tigara. It is a business. But it is the best kind of business. So here, how do you relate this, Hatim, or what's your thoughts?
Well, no, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, when, you know, most of the time when He refers to giving in the way of Allah, He calls it a loan. Yes. Loan Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man dhal ladhi yuqridu Allah qardan hasana. Who, you know, who is it that would come up to, you know, loaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So Allah is treating it as a loan, and who's a better person or who a better you know, person to loan to than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're guaranteed to get our money back. This is further, you know, to the Prophet's hadith.
Yeah, and in Islam there is two things, a charity or what is considered a loan, and you loan somebody for the sake of Allah. And the charity, the reward could be 10 to 700 times. But the loan is 18 times, which is almost double the charity. And the scholar says, when you give somebody, let's say $10 as a charity, you don't expect it back. When you lend somebody $10, your heart is attached to it. Is he going to pay me back? When is he going to pay me back? All this, and because of this psychological attachment, your reward is higher. And this is very important. Also in Surah Al-Baqarah, there is a whole section about the spending of money and spending for the sake of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, انفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم. Spend from the good part, because it's not just giving the used or giving the old things. It is giving as much as you can for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have any thoughts on this? Or
No, of course, yeah. And the verse goes further to say, you know, and don't look for the worst part of it to give
Yes.
away. And we all know that when we're giving clothes, we only give second-hand clothes. When we're giving food, we give the food we didn't eat.
Yes.
You know, and the ayahs are very particular that we have to give the best of what we have. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like this verse that Ashraf referred to, انفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, spend of the best of what you've earned.
Yes.
And this is a rare situation where Allah is referring to risk as something we've earned.
yeah.
You know, and it's a very interesting one. So even though you think you earned it, spend of its best.
Yes, and that's very important. Is you make, and it's in a way it's like it's good for the society. It's good for the whole social aspect that everybody feels they have. It's not just as you mentioned, the hand me down.